Hey y'all, we're just waiting to see getting some stuff set up, waiting to see if anybody's gonna come on in the chat to say hello. Just getting stuff together right now. I know it's early for folks. Some folks was needing to work and stuff. Hello, Jack. Having to find which SD card. I already got the image downloaded and the firmware downloaded because I just did this on another Libre. How's it going, Jeremy? It's all good. I'm just getting things started, getting things together, finding the right SD card right now, waiting for folks to get on. I know, supposed to have this stuff ready beforehand, right? Are y'all able to hear me all right? Appreciate it, Jeremy. I wasn't sure if it was picking up the audio from this with me using the webcam camera or not. Which, by the way, hey, this is JPP. Gonna go ahead and I guess announce the stream since there's some folks in here now, so you ain't just looking at the laptop. This is gonna be just a simple little stream here. I'm gonna be going over installing setting up the Libre frite S805 with the emmc module, since I had quite a bit of headaches trying to get it set up when I did, and when I finally was able to get it working, I know a lot of other people's been struggling with it too. So that's the purpose of this stream, and other than that, just hanging out. As soon as I find which one of these flash drives has the image on it, I might just end up re-downloading it. So how y'all doing on this Thursday morning? We made it over the hump day. Hey, Keela. It also don't help that I'm using my backup drive or laptop. Yeah, Jeremy said that might be helpful for a lot of folks. I know that it's a little more involved to set up, though. That's the pretty much the point of me doing this video, is because even using some of Dan Makermind Nexus's videos and going through the support pages and stuff on the Libre website, which isn't exactly straightforward. It took a lot of mixing and matching forum posts here and there to try to figure out how to get it to work. The biggest problem that I had spent about a week fighting with is actually installing the emmc, which I had hiding behind my laptop here. So we'll go ahead and install that first, I guess. Might as well do that since I'm trying to figure out which SD card has the files on it. I got fiber internet, so I can just re-download it real quick if need be anyways. It's all good, Keela. I'm just kind of taking things slow, getting stuff set up right now anyways. I appreciate the heads up on the audio being good. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about the actual emmc, one thing with the Libre board that I found out the hard way is you can install, or think you installed the emmc, put it in the board, think that it clicked in, install the screws, and the screws will seat completely all the way without the emmc actually being connected to the board. If it doesn't audibly click, it's not making a connection, so it won't show up. I'm gonna switch back to the overhead camera real quick so I can show some, attempt to show some close-ups of the board and stuff of what I was talking about. Which this gives me an example to show. This particular one didn't have the screws already on it, so this will give me an example to show what I was talking about installing the emmc module and actually clicking in, because just the tension of it clicking in will make the connection. It doesn't have to have the screws. But I say that while I'm trying to hunt down what I did with the emmc that I just opened. Bear with me, I'm going to switch back to the other camera real quick and find this emmc. Found it, by the way. It's sitting on top of the laptop. See if I can get y'all a little bit closer. Let's see how this does. But for installing the emmc, which that I just have a 16 gig. On the bottom of it has the little connector and stuff, which has the little connector right here on the board. And again, a lot of these steps sound simple, but they're easy to overlook, and it ain't, well, I said, I missed some of this stuff myself when I was doing it, and the official documentation isn't exactly, it leaves some stuff to be desired. But they're a small group of folks working on the Libre stuff too. Okay, so I don't know if y'all are going to be able to hear this or not. But I've got the emmc on the board. I'm going to do it closer to the laptop so y'all can hear the click. Well, maybe. It might not pick up on the built-in microphone, but anyways, when you get it lined up, it'll actually click, and just the actual clicking in the emmc will hold it in place without needing the screws. It'll actually be latched in. So there's step one, which you should have 2 screws with your emmc, which, like I said, this one doesn't happen to have it, but it'll hold in place without the screws. And one of the Jeremy mentioned, or Lee Marie said, the emmc is so much faster than the SD. Well, one of the issues with the frite board is it doesn't have an SD card, and you only have one USB that you can use if you're going to hook a printer to it, because it only has 2 USB slots, period. So if you want Wi-Fi adapter and printer, there's your connections, unless you use a USB hub. And speaking of Wi-Fi adapters, I'll put links in the description to these parts that I got, but I just got a basic USB adapter off of Amazon, white, to go with the Libre board. And this one, it specifically says that it works with Raspberry Pi and Linux and stuff, so you don't have to worry about drivers, especially trying to flash a board like this without a lot of folks will do it headless, where you don't even use a monitor. And to do it that way, you got to be able to have your Wi-Fi connect without needing to install the drivers. You could technically install it through terminal, but it's a lot easier when it just picks it up itself. Now, another thing, I need to get over by this other camera. Another thing that's very important with the Libre boards, like I said, it only has two USB ports. And if you notice, on this side, it has the RFID connector. You want to take note of that, because the one by the RFID is the one you're going to use to connect it to if you're using a Raspberry Pi or a Linux computer, whatever it is that you're trying to connect to load the stuff into the emmc. Well, that was pretty tough. So we got the USB installed now. Getting one step closer every time. And one good thing that does, if you buy the Libre emmcs, they come with the little USB-A to USB-A cable to connect it to a Pi or a Linux computer. And there is supposed to be ways you can do it with a Windows. I don't know for sure about a Mac, but I couldn't get it to work right. Like I said, this video setup is the way that I know it does work, which is using a Linux laptop. I need to see if it'll let me share my screen. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm trying to work on some JPP merch stuff, stickers and goodies like that. So when you're going to get it set up, of course, you go to the main website of Libre Computer, and the La Frite is the AML S805X AC. You scroll down a little bit down to downloads. I use Debian, or you can use Raspbian. Let's go ahead and use Raspbian since a lot of folks use that. Now, on the instructions stuff, you ignore the part about the 905. That's for the potato. And with these having the UFI BIOS, it don't even matter which type it is. You want to get the one for the ARM64. And you click the link for their distro server. I went with 11. And so you want any of these that's got the ARM64. And I'm going to go with the full ARM64. And then wait for that to download. And while you're downloading your image, another important part, I need to see where they got it. You want to download the UFI BIOS to update the BIOS on the board. And of course, go select the one for the La Frite. And then it'll go ahead and download the firmware flash. Hey Kegel, good to see you on here, man. Just downloading the stuff for the Libre board right now. Which that is one thing that it mentions on here, which I'm just ignoring it because I've done it and I know it works and whatever. One thing it does mention with like for, where's my box? The La Frite is just a 1 gigabyte memory board. It mentions the full images work best on anything above the 1 gigabyte board, but it will work to be able to install it on your 1 gigabyte La Frite. Bear with me, I'm getting my flash drives together here. So we'll just be doing this from scratch since most folks is going to be doing that anyways. Go ahead and flash me a SD card to do this off of. Okay, Glass, what's this for? Still learning and understanding Raspberry Pi stuff. This is Raspberry Pi alternative from Libre computer called a frite. This would be similar in specs and stuff to like a Raspberry Pi 3, but it has some quirks to it for setting it up with the emmc, which is the internal storage, since it doesn't have an SD card. All right, now I'm logging into the Linux laptop. I'm trying to see if I can connect me or my Linux laptop to the screen share on it. I already have the firmware flash for the BIOS set up over here, which is the first step, of course, and gonna see if we can connect the Libre straight to it and then do the whole process nothing but the emmc. If that doesn't work, which some folks have a hard time getting it to connect just with the USB into the emmc, then we'll go over the backup method, which is installing it on a flash drive, boot the flash drive into the Libre, and then copy the image from the flash drive into the emmc to boot to the emmc, which again, bunches of processes. If it'll work connecting it to your Raspberry Pi or Linux computer that you have, that's going to be your quickest and easiest way to do that. In order to do that beforehand, you want to make sure, of course, you have your board with the emmc, and you want to have a power cord handy because it may or may not need the power cord to supply the power to the board. Depending on what you're connecting it to, it might give it enough power just using the USB cable. And this is going to be a little bit difficult to show it on the camera since my power cord is a little bit short. But on the board, try and make sure that this does show on camera here. On the board, you have a little switch above my finger, and it says emmc one way and normal the other way, which right now it's set to normal, which is facing this way towards your USB plugs. When you're connecting it to the computer, you want to switch this switch that away so that it's reading to the emmc. Now that may or may not be required, but I've had success getting it to work by doing that, so I just do that every time. After you've transferred your stuff, you're going to want to switch that switch back to normal to get it to boot off of it, or it won't recognize that there's an emmc in it at all. So once you've got that switch switched over, take your USB-A to USB-A. Now here's where things get a little bit tricky when you're plugging it in, connecting it to the computer, because the process of doing it, you want to hold this little button in the corner. You want to hold that down while you're plugging it in. But also, while holding the button and plugging in the USB, then you also want to go and plug your power cord into the power port beside the Ethernet cable, all kind of together. So let me see if I can get this Linux laptop connected to share the screen real quick. Bear with me a minute. It can be, and that's why a lot of people's been getting frustrated with it. But really, if you just take your time, do the steps that it does take, that once you get it going, it's worth it in the end. It is a good board. It does work well to run a printer off a clipper, or if you're wanting to do like a retro Pi emulation game stuff, whatever, any of the stuff you would be using a SBC for, it will work. It's just, like you said, a pain in the butt getting it set up. How's it going, Jeff? And I just want to give a big shout out to all y'all that are hanging out in the chat on this live stream and stuff. I appreciate the support and y'all bearing with me. All right, we got it connecting now. Hold on, I gotta mute this one. Okay. Thanks for hanging in there, getting things set up and stuff. But of course, the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and do the BIOS update, which is the easiest part, which I already have set up, downloaded on this computer. So we're gonna see if we can get the Libre to connect to the Linux computer. I might need to change the screen sharing to show the desktop. There we go. So minimize this down so that you can see the desktop part. So again, connecting the Libre to the laptop. Hold the button in the corner and connect the USB. And then plug in your power cord. Come on. And then let go of the button. And of course, ignore everything I just said, because you have to update the BIOS with a flash drive first for it to connect. Just kidding. So you do still need to use the flash drive. Give me just a second. Hey, Papa, I'm attempting to show how to get the Libre board set up, but I'm having pro streamer moments here where I ain't got everything lined up ahead of time. So it's just a hangout at the moment. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that not a spin sticker. Alrighty, now here we go. Taking the SD card and putting it in the Linux computer to copy the BIOS to the flash drive, and then you want to put it in the Libre board and turn it on, and it'll automatically update. So you take your image file and copy it over to your flash drive. And again, where I mentioned about the switch. Hold on. Where I mentioned about the switch for the emmc or normal, when you're doing anything like these flash-ins, you want to switch it back to normal, which is towards the USB ports. Switch it that way. And then you just take your board, with your SD or flash card, whatever, in there, and plug in the power. Let it turn on and it'll load that. Now you can do it with plugged into a HDMI, so you can see everything that it's doing on the screen, but all it's going to do is run through, update that, and take a few minutes, and then you just go back to doing it. I don't have an HDMI screen here, and to hook it up, I gotta go all the way over to the other end of the room to hook it into the TV, and y'all won't be able to go with me. So, but y'all, if y'all have y'all screen that y'all can plug it into the screen and y'all see what it's doing, it'll go through, update, and then come back to the boot screen. see y'all talking about scraping the coast and cruising the coast. We was able to go to cruising the coast last year. It was actually a impromptu trip. We just ended up going down there to go for the weekend and didn't realize that it happened to be cruising the coast starting that weekend. You'll see all kinds of vehicles, old vehicles. There was a few like new supercars, Lamborghinis, all that kind of stuff, but mostly a whole lot of nice classic cars. There's some rat rods and there's some vehicles that you don't see much anymore from companies that ain't around. Now it's probably done. I'm just going ahead and loading up the stuff on the Linux computer for flashing the actual Linux image over. And this right here on the Linux over here, this is where is talking about what I was saying about the steps for connecting it to the computer on flashing it using a Linux computer. Unplug everything, including the Wi-Fi, which I didn't have unplugged before. Plug one end of the USB cable into the Pi or the Libre, and then the other into the laptop, Raspberry Pi, whatever Linux-based computer that you're using. Hold the button down, plug it in, and then whether or not you might or might not need to plug in the power cable as well, I just go ahead and do it every time anyways, just because that eliminates one possible headache that you might have. And first thing you got to do on your Linux, Pi, etc. I've already went and did this, but we'll go ahead and open up the terminal. You want to copy this stuff to get PyML boot, which is, it gives you the code right here to copy it. Your sudo apt install python get and clone the branch. Of course, it helps if you type your right password. While y'all are waiting, I see y'all chatting amongst yourselves for talking about cruising the coast. Here's a link for those of you that's interested. While you're waiting on me. And as you can see in here, I already had PyML boot installed, so it said it already exists. And yes, pop away. This is another Raspberry Pi replacement, single board computer, etc. However you want to explain it or describe it. All right, so now we take the Libre board, uninstall all your peripherals and everything else so that there's nothing in it. And now, since we are going to be connecting it to the computer, now would be a good time to go ahead and switch the switch on the side back to emmc. Take your USB-A cable, and plug it in to the one closer to the IR port. Hold down the boot button in the corner while you're plugging it in. This is the part where you got to turn your head right, stick out your tongue just right, and lift up your right foot type of deal. And then again, still be holding the button until you get your auxiliary power plugged in, if you're going to do the auxiliary power, and then let go of the button. Which again, like I said, my cables are a little tight over here. And Papaway's asking, can you run a 3D printer with it? Yes, you can. That's what I'm doing on here. Getting the Raspbian image installed on the emmc so that we can install Clipper and run printers with it. So let me get back off of this solo page so y'all can see what I'm doing on the Linux over here. And then again, we cloned the PyML boot, detached everything, plugged in one end, plugged in the other end, hold the button, all of that stuff. Yes, and then spin yourself around like Jeff B said. Do the hokey pokey. And then it gives you the option to erase it and then to turn it into a virtual flash drive. This is the step that a lot of the folks have trouble with, not getting it to detect it as the flash drive. I'm not going to worry about the first step here, erasing it, because it's not really required. It's going to override it when you install the stuff anyways. That's good for if you already had something installed on it, like say I installed Debian and now I'm wanting to install Raspbian. Then it would be headache eliminating to go ahead and wipe it and then do it fresh. So you want to copy the code for the turning it into a virtual flash drive. Put that over into your terminal. And that's going to do its stuff. And then you should, everything working right, you should be able to see in a few minutes, it'll pop up a file system type box over here. Which it'll show up as a second device like that. Right now, mine is not showing up at the moment. Which is what bunch of the folks was dealing with. So we'll try and do it again. Go ahead and just unplug everything. Remember to unplug the auxiliary power that you put on. And just for the heck of it, we'll switch it and see if I was wrong on the USB ports. Plug it in. We're going to try it this time, plugging it in the furthest away from the IR port. It's one of the two. Obviously, I didn't remember, but it's a 50-50, one or the other. So then you got to push the little boot button, plug it in, hold it just right. Make sure you plug it in the USB and not a HDMI, all the fun things. Plug back in your power cord and let go of the boot button. And we'll rerun the emmc flash drive command. And it says device not found. So we have to try again. And yeah, it is a little complex, and it would help if I would have actually remembered all the steps that I did before instead of just going over everything again with y'all. But we're going to have a working Libre by the end of this stream one way or another. So y'all get to experience it with me. And another thing that I went ahead and did was I went and switched the emmc switch back to normal just to see if that helps. Now, what I think happened is I think that it was supposed to be the USB port that's the closest to the power plug, like what we did the first time, and that's why I didn't read it, because it's only the one USB port that actually acts as a flash drive. But I appreciate y'all hanging out and stuff. It sure beats talking to myself. And then plug back in the auxiliary power. And we try to rerun the terminal command. Yep, and now it's connecting to it. So yes, make sure you use the USB port that is the closest to the infrared sensor, which is also the one right by the red power LED, right? Or LED light. Pop away messing me up reading his thing, talking about, but you get all the right answers when you talk to yourself. All right, and it ran the scripts. Like right now, it should, you gotta wait a few seconds, it should show up that it's connected. Which it's not. Give me just a minute. I'm going to go pull up the other one so I can at least show y'all what it's supposed to show while I'm working on getting this one to work right, so y'all don't just think I'm talking out my butt. Not fancy enough for the commands pop away. But yes, here's a, let me make myself full screen again. But yes, here's another Libre board that I already did all this for Melissa, and it shows the screws by the emmc. So we'll see if we can get this process to work to show for that one, since I know it's set up. See if we can get it to at least show on the laptop. I'm glad that there's a few of y'all in there, so y'all are keeping a conversation going while this is kind of boring, but at least it kills time if you just listening in the background. Hold the button, plug it in, turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Papa asks, does this board offer improvements over Raspberry or BTT as example? No. I don't know anything that's better or worse or whatever, other than it's cheaper and it was readily available when the Pis were having shortages. It's just an alternative. All right, so now we got this one connected. We'll try and run the same command we did on the terminal and see if we get this one to pop up and show the emmc. And now with this one, we do get our stuff popped up here in the corner to access the emmc, which this one already has Clipper. This actually has a forked version of Clipper installed on it, which is what I was going to be going over in this video after we get the emmc set up. This was mainly figuring out the emmc thing. So anyways, back to the other board. We know that it does work with this computer because it's showing over here. So now I'm going to disconnect this one. Go ahead and put the Wi-Fi adapter back on so I don't forget and get chewed out by Melissa. Melissa is at work. She will be back in a couple hours or so. She's almost done. One other thing that I did with that one, we're going to do the same exact thing on this one because that's how I got it to work. But I'll be right back. I got to go grab one thing out of the other room. All right, I'm back. Yeah, well, Keela, you'll get to see her tomorrow, and she might go ahead and come on today, if depending on how long I'm on here doing this. But that's one thing, like I was saying earlier, where Papa Wade mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and do this until we get it working, so that I show how to do it, and then I'll clip out the actual important bits of the process of doing it the right way, which hopefully, excuse me, that's what we're doing right now. Now, right before I went in the other room, the main difference of what I just did with the old one versus this one, the switch for emmc and normal, I put it on emmc. So we're going to put it on emmc again, do the exact same things we did with that one. Make sure we're plugging it into the port that is the closest to the IR sensor and the LED light, or the IO pins, whichever way you want to look at it. You have your USB, hold the power button or boot button, whatever that button is, plug it in, get the auxiliary power, plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. Who remembers that? Let me go ahead and do this full screen now real quick. Oh, I guess it don't matter. It can have the camera to show it. So anyways, go back over here and pull up the terminal, and we'll run the same emmc command. And if it worked, just like the other one, we should see the file folders pop up over in the corner. All right, well, that obviously didn't work this time, so we will do the part that I decided to skip, and we'll go ahead and erase the partition first and see if that makes a difference. And for doing that, you have to unplug it every time, because you can only run one of the commands at a time. Hold the button, plug it in, plug in the auxiliary. And this time we'll copy the erase command first. Hey, Built Over Bot, good to see you, bro. Okay, now that finished, so now we got to unplug the power, unplug the USB, and do it again. Hold the button, plug it in. Sounding like a broken record now. And again, you might not need the auxiliary power, but again, with all the eccentricities of it, I use it each time anyways. And so now we'll go try to see about the turning it to a flash drive command again. And it looks like we're going to have to do the long way of doing it because it's not going to connect. This should look pretty familiar to folks like Mad Cat and Shane and folks that had been asking about how to do this because it's not showing on the Linux computer, which is okay. We can still, it just takes another workaround. So we'll go ahead and unplug everything for now. And we'll abandon the Linux thing for now. And install it on a flash drive first. Boot the Libre off of the USB and then copy the image to the emmc while it's booted off of the USB, and then unplug the USB to get it to boot off the emmc. Again, sounds like a long hassle. It kind of is, but at the same time, it really is kind of straightforward if you have flash drives ready on hand, which I have my Linux thing over here. So we'll go ahead and use it to wipe this SD card real quick. And on that, of course, it popped up right away. Actually, I'm going to unplug this. And we're going to see, I think that this is the flash drive that I already installed the Libre stuff on before. So we're going to go ahead and just see if we'll get it to boot off of this. Now this is going to be a little bit awkward, have to rearrange the cameras and stuff a minute for y'all in order to show the Libre and the TV as I'm connecting it to the TV. That sounds about right, Bob. It has to only work when you do not want it to. I see y'all talking about crazy must be crazy and crazy attracts crazy. We all just crazy folks up in here. Have to be a little bit crazy to be dealing with these 3D printing, plastic spitting machines. Bear with me just a little bit while I try to go get this set up to hook to the TV, and I'll get the camera moved over there. So I'm going to try this one more time real quick, playing with that switch so that I don't have to do all of that rearranging right now, which we might be redoing this Libre stream tomorrow after I get it dialed in and working right so that I ain't keeping y'all on the what if game with me trying to figure this out. But this is a realistic experience of how it was the first time trying to get it to work. Give me just a minute. I think that's Melissa that just got home. Yep, that's Melissa. So if y'all beg enough, maybe she'll get on the stream while I'm trying to set the thing up with the TV. Okay, let's try this again. The thing is, with it doing this writing and stuff, shows you and you know that it is connected to the emmc. So it's not the emmc not being plugged in being the issue. Yeah, that's just not showing up. Now, when if you are gonna do it like this with the USB, boot it off of the USB, make sure you switch the switch back to normal. Yeah, I've been going for a little over an hour today. I'm not going to keep y'all on this since I have to basically move the setup over there. We'll try again tomorrow morning, working on getting this Libre set up if I do have to boot it off the USB on the TV and stuff. I want to give a shout out to everybody that came over and watched the stream today. What? Well, I'm switching it. Anyways, Melissa's here now too.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing today?
But like I said, we'll go ahead and call this stream for today and stuff. Thank y'all for coming over for the first main actual non-hangout stream. And we'll try to pick this back up again tomorrow morning. I guess I'll do the same thing around 10 a.m. And y'all take it easy.
Y'all have a good day.